What is good, y'all? Welcome to Let's Cap. I am your host, Ronald, also known as Youcapper from Sportsmemo.com at Youcapper Sports on Twitter. Got my guy again, Chris B. Capping, two P's, two N's on Twitter there. Chris, no show yesterday, no basketball at all. Well, we did have some basketball, but not the NBA. Today, 13 game slate, but we were kind of talking right before the show, man. There's a whole bunch of games that are pretty meaningless. So kind of didn't want to go through the whole slate. Just want to focus in on some of the key games where there was some meaning going into them. So, other than that, man, how's everything been going?
Yeah, everything going good, pretty good. I see. The weekend was crazy. It was bananas in the NBA, man. Sunday we saw two dogs win outright at 16 and 19 and 18 and a half point favorites. So that was pretty crazy to see the
Yeah,
Kings go down at home to the Spurs, and the Timberwolves go down at home as well to the Portland Trailblazers. So,
I think they said that was the worst loss,
in 30 years in the
outright
NBA.
loss. Yeah, in
Mhm.
NBA history.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I even went back in the database, RC, and looked at
19
previous
and a half
favorite
point
line.
favorites.
Previous favorite line greater than or equal to 19 and a half. Like nothing comes up.
There's none. Yeah,
It's crazy.
that's just crazy.
But yeah,
But yeah,
it's been
man.
pretty good. It's been pretty good, RC. Ready to dominate the week, man. Last week of NBA. Let's kick it off strong and make some money, man.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's always good to have one of those days where you don't have a show. Yeah, I was saying yesterday, it's been a while since I didn't have a show at all, like period. Because I do sports memo and stuff like that, so it was a good rest day, for me to get back on track. Also, I got a chance to dive into the MLB systems that I had for last year and all that stuff. Things are going well there. Man, just hoping we cash again this year in the MLB. So we'll get there though. We're gonna focus in on the NBA on this show until the end of the season, and we're gonna have more data in the MLB. We'll probably touch on some MLB during the playoffs, but not too much. Just focus on the NBA for now. But yeah, let's get into the few games that we want to talk about here. First game, I think it was the Wolves and the Nets. Here, I'm gonna show my screen. Um, yeah. All right, so I know we. Oh shit, my bad. We kind of talked about this briefly before the show here, but what do you got on this game? What are you liking on this one?
Yeah, so this one for me, I see you probably may have a little bit more support as far as SDQL wise, but I just feel like it's a really great spot for the Timberwolves. We just
Yeah.
I just kind of alluded to the meltdown that they had, in that last game at home, and they kind of need this game. If you look where they are, they're in the ninth seed in the West, only a game behind OKC for the final spot of the play-in tournament. I'm sorry, a game ahead of OKC for the final spot in the play-in tournament. So OKC is 10th, they're ninth. But they're also only 1.5 games behind both the Pelicans and the Lakers as well for the seventh seed. So they still have
Hmm.
a lot to play for in this spot. I see they're coming off, like I said, the big upset loss at home. And I like that they are going to be extremely rested for this spot. And they also can leave it all on the floor. I know that's something that you always talk about. They don't play again until like really later in the week when they host they
I
play the
think it's like a
Spurs.
3 day
So
rest or something like that,
yeah,
right?
it's
Three
like
day.
I think it's 3 days rest. Yeah, and it's the Spurs, right? Like, so you're not, I'm pretty sure they'll take that game more serious because they absolutely need to win and won't, try to do what happened to the Blazers done to
Blazers,
them
yeah.
before they host the Pelicans to end the season. They'll be without Nas Reed in this spot, who's done for the season, but I think it's a prime time bounce back spot. You look at I think narrative driven too. RC, you look at how bad Karl Anthony Towns was in the last game, and a lot of people have been kind of criticizing him for the loss. I think he only had like 3 points and like 5 fouls. Didn't play well at all. But and a lot of people may not know this, but Karl Anthony Towns is actually from New Jersey, so this is going to be a big game for him. Being so close to home with this game being in Brooklyn, back on the East Coast. So pretty sure he
Yeah.
have a lot of family and friends there. You look at this Nets team; they're not in the greatest spot because it's the last game of a home trip for them as well. So just knowing how much this game means to the Timberwolves, I jumped on them last night when they were a +1. Gave it out this morning on my show as well, and I actually still like the current number at 2. I think that they win this game, by double digits. Also, last thing I want to mention, I see that we always talk about teams kind of either really really close to a win or really really close to a loss. The
Yeah.
Nets they've been winning, but they haven't been covering. They won 3 in a row, but they failed to cover each one of those. And you look at their last game, they actually had a really nice lead against the Jazz before melting it down, and the Jazz had a chance to to win that game late in the fourth quarter. You hear Spencer Dinwiddie talk about it afterwards and saying, you know what, we just kind of like let our foot up off the gas. We got to be, a little more serious towards the end of the game. So I just feel like honestly they're a better defensive team. I think that they come in here and get the job done and win the game, and taking them +1 or even -2, just says that they need to win the game by a bucket.
Yeah, I took the money line too. Did you take the money line or did you? Oh, you got it last night at +1, right?
It was still +1 this morning. You sleep on the West Coast, but it was still +1 this morning. This morning when I gave it out as well. But yeah, I mean, I still the money line right now. If it's -2, the money line is probably what -125. RC, what would that be? What is a -2?
It was a -125. Yeah, -125 okay. When I got it. It was -130 right before the show that I saw. So still there.
Yeah, absolutely playable at that.
I wish I would have had it at the +1, but I think they're gonna win outright, like you said.
Yeah.
If you look at, we know the Wolves obviously a little bit different than they were prior to the trade deadline, right? Prior to All-Star break. One thing that I did look at was them after the All-Star break at home specifically, 25th in offensive rating, right there. They are playing pretty good defense here. Obviously, the Wolves also, this is at home, but they're on the road, so you can see that they've been struggling at home. But since they're on the road, if we look at that, they actually been doing pretty well on the road post All-Star break, right there in the middle of the pack. So obviously there's a big gap between home road splits for both teams here. If we look at from a record perspective, we go Wolves. Sorry, I was just kind of diving into this. So you were mentioning, how you were mentioning extra days between games here. So what I did look at while you were talking was the Wolves, when they have at least 2 days of rest between this game and their next game, going from home to road, 6-3 straight up, 6-3 against the spread. For the most part, they've been dogs in that situation. When they're a favorite, they did win and cover both games. Obviously, not the same level, right? Rockets and the Magic, but the Nets, like I said, they kind of been struggling at home recently. So if we go Timberwolves post All-Star break, we just say on the road, they're 7-4 straight up, 7-4 against the spread. As a favorite, only one game as a favorite. Similar line here, exactly at -1. But I think the Wolves right now are -2 or 2.5. That's why the money line went to -130. But they did win and cover that game against the Lakers. I think post All-Star break, if we compare like teams, Nets and Lakers, I would say they would be around the same level of competition in my book. I think the Lakers are probably a little bit better based on like how they've been doing recently. But for the most part, at least it's something that we can use a comparison for. So I think this is a situation the Wolves can win outright. If we go on the opposite side, right, we talked about the offensive struggles for the Nets post All-Star break, specifically at home. 4-5 straight up, 3-6 against the spread. Obviously, we're looking at them to just win the game. On average, we're seeing that they're up in this spot. But if we look at comparable teams, I feel like this is a situation where the Wolves not only better than some of these teams here, but also just has a greater motivation, right? If that makes sense. So, like you said, they're what is it, like a half game up or 2 games up from the 11th spot? Can't remember now. Is it a half game?
One game. They won one game ahead of OKC.
One game, yeah. So every game counts the rest of the way. So the motivation is definitely on their side. With the Nets, I mean, obviously the Nets still got to win outright to stay out of the play-ins, but at least they're guaranteed to go into the postseason. What up, Munaf?
What's going on, gentlemen?
What up, Munaf?
Chilling. This is the first game. Did you on the Wolves? Wolves Nets game.
No, I didn't have anything for this. I'd probably look at Minnesota. Just coming off of a loss like that against the the Blazers, where we were like close at 19 for them.
Yeah,
they've been playing pretty good defense. I got to give them credit for that. I mean, ever since Cat returned, their defense has really turned up. But I know they had like a bug going around with an illness from Anthony Edwards and other guys, but I think it's a good bounce back spot for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I know Brooklyn has been playing well, but I feel like they're kind of cemented into that 6th spot. I know the Miami Heat are only 2 games behind them, but I think the more desperate team right now is the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. Just having more motivation to win this game here.
Yeah,
Obviously, that doesn't guarantee a win, but I think that's definitely a
sure.
factor in how they go into playing this game. The other thing to mention, I talked about their offense post All-Star break, but also in that situation where it's the last game of a homestand before they go on the road, 6-2 to the under, and you can see that they're sorry their team total under here for the most part. When they go under huge. If they go over, it's barely going over here. So for the most part, I think in these situations, their offense tends to struggle a little bit, averaging 110.1 per game. I think the Wolves defense, like you said, has been playing a lot better. So I would say that's the way to go here. Did you guys see anything from a prop perspective? I know Mitch was mentioning Kyle Anderson rebounds and assists.
I didn't have anything as far as props for this game. Cat is questionable, right? Officially on the injury report.
Yeah, he is questionable officially.
Yeah.
I would think he plays this game though, with how important it is.
Yeah, I would think so too. I was just gonna say, I think even if he does or doesn't play, you maybe want to look at Rudy Gobert rebounding props because Brooklyn, I think since the All-Star break, has been either the worst or the second worst rebounding team since that span. And I know a lot of us have been cashing on opposing centers reboundings going up against the Brooklyn Nets. So I think that might be worth a look here tonight, whether they want to go Rudy Gobert or even if Cat does play tonight.
Yeah, I mean that would be correlated with the Nets struggling offensively too, right? Because then that's a whole bunch of rebounds. Yeah, I like that. That makes a lot of sense. So that definitely is correlated with that. Any last comments on this one, Chris?
Nah, not. I missed a lot of games on the board, but based on what you was just showing us, it sounds like to me not only the point that we're getting with the Timberwolves or the money line that you lay with them, but it all seems correlated to the Nets team total under as well. You got right. What you got up right there shows that they're 6-2 to the under on their team total, and it continues to be overpriced. I mean, they're going in about an average of 10 points, and we think the Timberwolves are going to come in here and play the type of defense that we know that they can and bounce back in a big way like they were 2 weeks ago when they went to Golden State and won, and then followed that up with a no rest day in Sacramento where they were able to win again and hold both of those teams under their team total. It sounds like they should be able to do the same thing to the Nets. So I didn't play it, but I think it is correlated. This morning I talked about it on my show. I think the game goes under. The total has dropped from 227.5 down to 224.5, but it may still be some meat on the bone there for potential Brooklyn Nets team total to go under.
Yeah, I like it. Just one more thing before we go. I wanted, right when you were talking, it made me think about home versus non-conference after the All-Star break. 0-4 against the spread there. So yeah, a lot of things are kind of pointing towards the Wolves. Also, that team total under is a good look in my opinion as well for the Nets. All right, let's go on to Celtics Sixers. All right, Celtics Sixers. Obviously, I think the Celtics are still trying to get to that number 1 spot. I don't know how realistic it is, but it seems like they're still motivated to try and get there. Chris, you got something?
I was gonna say it's still pretty realistic. I think they're only 2 games behind the Bucks. If you correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're only 2 games behind the Bucks, and these teams have about 3 or 4 games left to play throughout this week. So it is pretty realistic,
for the Celtics.
Yeah, mathematically, right? Like, do we see? So if we look at their schedule, though, do we see a situation where the Bucks will kind of? So if we look at who they're playing, we got the Wizards, Bulls, Grizzlies, Raptors. Do we see a situation? So you would think that they beat the Wizards, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, their entire starting lineup is out.
Games, and we know what was that?
I said I think their entire starting lineup is out for the Wizards.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm actually surprised it's at -13. So we would probably think that some of the Bucks guys will sit, especially with the first leg of back-to-back games. But we know the Bucks do well in second leg of back-to-back games as well. So I would assume that they do pretty good here. This one, I guess we want to see how motivated the Grizzlies are for the most part. But I think aren't they like locked into their position as well, or are they still fighting for? I think they're locked in.
I think I think they're pretty much locked in. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Grizzlies are
Grizzlies are
pretty
pretty
much
locked
locked
in at
in.
2, so I
Yeah.
would think that they chill as well. Raptors got something to fight for, but I just feel like I don't know. They could win the last 4 games. I mean, that's
I
just
think
my
they're
thought. That's what I was kind of saying.
yeah.
Mathematically, yeah, they could still make it, but I just don't know if it'll happen. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of what I meant. I know that mathematically it still makes sense. But yeah, so this one here, also the Sixers coming off of the loss here. The Celtics actually own the regular season series 3-0, and we know it's crazy because Sixers has been one of the best teams as far as the revenge angle. They just can't get their revenge against the Celtics. What are your guys' thoughts on this one? Let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, it just feels like the Boston Celtics have the Philadelphia 76ers number, right? I would think that I've did I see that Jaylen Brown was questionable here tonight on the injury
Yeah,
report?
questionable. Yeah.
He is,
Yeah.
and Robert Williams is out as well.
Yeah, so it just feels like it should be a game where Joel Embiid, I mean, should have success as he's had all season long against this, or against any team, especially now without Robert Williams. They're obviously their best defensive player, not really there. I mean, we're really having Al Horford matchup on Joel Embiid that could get him into foul trouble. I think for the Sixers here tonight, again, we talk about motivation and things like that. I think they want to get this game and avoid the season series sweep against the Boston Celtics. I think they're pretty much cemented into that. I think the 3 or where they're third right now in the standings. So I really don't think that they can move here. I think Boston has a game tomorrow, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, against Toronto at home. So I don't know. RC, if I want to look at how Boston does on the front end of a back-to-back, I feel like my guess is that one of Jaylen Brown or even both guys sit tomorrow against the Raptors. But as far as tonight, I'll lean with the home team. Sixers have been really good at home this year. And I think it is an ultimate get-up spot for them to kind of, avoid getting that season sweep from the Celtics.
Yeah. So this is Celtics on the first leg of back-to-back games. They are pretty good. 8-4 straight up, 8-4 against the spread. Obviously I saw a lot of things that kind of pointed towards the Celtics as well. I know Chris just passed this one on. Celtics with a tight line, 3 within the threes here. So either favored by 3 or less, or a dog of 3 or less. 12-4 straight up, 12-4 against the spread. 13-3 to the under.
Yeah, that was more so for underlook, RC, than the side.
Yeah. I was gonna say that a lot of things kind of that makes a lot of sense. Here's
without Jaylen Brown.
So I did look at without Jaylen Brown too. I actually already have it up. So the Celtics without Jaylen Brown this season, they're actually 9-3 straight up, 9-2-1 against the spread. For the most part, he's been missing the games where they obviously could just win without him. But we do have some games here where they played the Bucks, they played the Grizzlies here. I would say Knicks at some point was a pretty good deal, a pretty good matchup as well. You got the Heat here, so there is a mix of good teams, not only just the Hornets and the Pistons and stuff like that, but there is a mix of good teams in here where they did cover. The most recent one is against the Knicks here. They did lose by a good chunk, 109-94. I forgot who else would miss that game. But yeah, so it seems like they do cover without Jaylen Brown. I think it's more situational, right? Just picking and choosing when to sit their key players out. But for the most part, like I said, a lot of things kind of pointed towards the Celtics side, but I think the Sixers, I just like you said, I like the Sixers at home. I know the Celtics do have the 3-0 advantage here in the regular season, but Sixers as in that revenge angle is pretty strong as well. Do you guys see any props to look at if Brown actually sits out? Will we just focus in on Tatum, or are we gonna focus in on some of the other guys?
I think you should probably just have to look at Tatum. I mean, if you just look at the pure shot volume that he gets up when Jaylen Brown's not in the lineup, it's pretty significant. I hate to go chalky, but I think that Joel Embiid should have a big night. Tyrese Maxey has been really good, I think, over his last 3 to 4 games. I think he scored 20+ points. Harden, I don't trust him scoring, maybe distributing the basketball, where he's probably just going to be feeding Joel Embiid all night. If you want to look at Harden assists, but I really do like the Maxey angle on the points here tonight.
Anything on your side, Chris?
Nah, nothing at all. This wasn't a game I really looked in too much into. I would lean with you guys as well. I think not having Robert Williams makes a big deal for them. And the Celtics are the best version of themselves when they do have Robert Williams. And I don't like that it's the first leg of a back-to-back as well. And the Sixers probably, do want to win this game for everything that you guys mentioned. Also for still campaigning for Joel Embiid to win, MVP, and a big win against the Boston Celtics would help. So I would lean, the home team in this spot as well. Also lean towards the under, especially if Jaylen Brown doesn't play.
Yeah. This is that revenge angle that I was talking about, the Sixers as home favorites in that revenge angle, 10-1 straight up, 10-1 against the spread. So a lot of competing trends. But again, I think I still would lean the Sixers in this situation specifically, just on the matchup perspective. All right, let's go on to the next game. Kings Pelicans was the next one that I had on the list. Chris, what you got? Anything? I think you got something on this one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the total. See, I think it's gonna be a highly contested game. I know that the spread moved in favor of the Pelicans. I wanted to get there with the Pelicans, but number kind of got away from me too quick because I saw it did open at the Pelicans -2. And now I think that lines up to maybe 3.5 or 4 now. So I don't like it as much with them having to win by multiple possessions. But I looked at the total in this one. I see on the Kings side, we know that they play little defense, little resistance throughout the entirety of the season. Even when they have a good game, I think it's pretty apparent that they don't hang their hats on the defensive end, which is why you see teams constantly come in there and even give them problems. Like that's how you lose as a 16-point favorite, because you don't play defense. And you see Mike Brown, talk about it repeatedly as well. He did come out again in the media after the loss on Sunday as a 16-point home favorite in the loss, and say that he was getting pretty tired of their soft defense. So I think that they try to bring it on the defensive end. We also know that the Kings offense just doesn't play as well on the road. I got the Kings as 13-5 to the under as road dogs this season. If the total is 237 or higher, and I think it's 236 right now. It did drop a little bit, but I gave this one out this morning at 237.5, which was the highest number. So 13-5 to the under as road dogs this season. If the total is 237 or higher, 7-2 to the under. Also 5-1 to the under when they're road dogs facing a team that they've previously beaten. With the only over actually happening in that overtime game, the double overtime game with the Clippers. And they also, if you add in that they're road dogs on the first leg of a back-to-back, hasn't happened that many times, but they're 3-0 to the under in that spot as well. So some big support for the Kings side of things. We know that the Pelicans on the opposite side have been the best defensive team throughout the second half of the season, and really kind of picked it up. I got them, the Pelicans, 12-3 to the under at home when the total was 230 or higher this season, staying under by an average of 14 points. And then I had one more creator that I want to send you that I found as well, just kind of playing around with the database, I think last night when I was capping this game. So I'll share this with you as well. Drop this in the chat. And those are all the reasons why I'm on the under in this spot. And I would still play it right now at the current number as well.
Did it go down from open?
I got it at 237.5 last night. And this morning it was still 237.5. And I think it's down to 236.
236. Yeah, it didn't go down too much. I think it's hard for the books to move it too much lower with it being the Kings, but a lot of things that you said make sense. I think you obviously the Pelicans defense, right? Is this the one that you just sent?
No. It's one since last year where you get a home fit. Well, yeah, you can read it. I see.
9-2. So we're looking at games past 75 in the regular season. Rest so they're not on the second leg of back-to-back games. It's a conference game, so both teams not on the second leg of back-to-back games. And then we're looking at the home favorite, and the team has a winning percentage less than their opponent. Oh, man, it's 3 games today. So late in the season.
Facing a team that has a worse record than you, but you're the home favorite, and both teams are rested in a conference game that's in the regular season as well.
I like it. The other thing that I was looking at was the team total under. I was just looking at. Oh, here it is. Was this it? Nope. Fuck, I just had it. Now I moved. Oh yeah. So this one that you brought up earlier, Chris, that Pelicans. Fuck, where did it go? Kings. All right, Kings as road dogs with a total of 235 or greater, right? We're seeing that 8-3 to the under. If we look at the opponent team total, the Kings actually been playing pretty solid defense. Obviously, we got that double OT. They probably went over in regulation. Obviously went over in regulation, but other than that, the opponent's team total is 9-2 to the under. And we know the Pelicans. They've kind of been playing a little bit better defense, but I think the number being this high, would you look towards a team total under on the Pelican side?
I would. I don't know. I don't think so. I think the game flies under the total. Just put it like that. I think it's like a
Combined.
229 game, right? I think both of them go under their team total because, like I said, I think Mike Brown is going to light a fire under his team to play. Bring it. A much better defensive effort as well. And on top of that, I think the Pelicans just play really good defense. So I see both of these teams go under the team total, which is why I think I see a little bit more value in the actual total.
What do you think, Munaf?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of guys or a lot of things that you guys are saying. I mean, I also looked up if you want to flip it to the for the King side, just this season. If you want to query looking at their road games, and then also adding in after that, their opponent win percentage is above 500. I mean, that gives you a lot additional support on the under as well.
I like that. You got a couple. Well, this one always is gonna be there. Just fuck up all the averages, but you even have one OT game that went under here. Yeah, I think the under. Did you take anything on this one, Munaf?
I wanted to get there with the Pelicans, but I just feel like the line kind of got away from me at that point. I mean,
Fuck. I said Pelicans last night too. It was
Yeah.
at like I missed it too.
two.
But you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
But I 100%
I
agree
think
about what Chris is saying about the under.
yeah, the under does make a lot of sense here. You would think it's correlated too. You think if it goes under, it's probably a Pelicans pace and
Yep.
game style. So
Yeah.
I like it. This is from again or ooh. So this is since 2010 regular season after the All-Star break on the road, coming off of a home loss as a favorite. All right, so home loss as a favorite of double digits, and then they're facing a team. Oh wait, opponent previous. So that means their opponent in the game that they just lost had a win percentage of 50 or greater, and their opponent's coming off a home game. So it's pretty situational here. 13-2 to the under. Doesn't happen too often, but it actually has happened a few times here in more recent seasons. Says to go to the under here. So just kind of processing this real quick. So if we say they're on the road, that means their opponent has been at home for multiple games, coming off a loss as a double-digit favorite against a team with a winning record.
I see. Real quick, while you process that, I'm thinking the same thing. What if we took out the opponent win percentage part? Because it makes sense that if you lose as a home favorite of 10 points or more, and then you have to go on the road in your next game, it makes sense that you're going to play better defense, right? So there we go.
Yeah,
Okay. So even if you take that out, it just makes sense to.
It's still pretty good.
80%.
Yeah. That's a hell of a query. Shout out to ooh or oh.
That's what I said. Yeah. Is that one time? Remember me up? Yeah. Good stuff, man. Opinion on Hawks versus Bulls. All right, let's finish this one up real quick, and then we had one more right after, and then we'll go to the chat for games. Anything else on this Kings Pelicans? I think you guys may have talked me into this under. It hasn't moved to the point where I feel like it's out of range. I think 1 point down, I think it's still pretty good. I think if it gets down to like 234 or something like that, then maybe it's out of range. But I think the way that we're seeing now, some of the averages makes sense.
Real quick, I see. Can we look at the Pelicans at home post All-Star break? Well, no, let's just look at the Pelicans at home with a total of 230 or higher. I think that's what I had in my notes. I actually want to get there with the Pelicans, even though the line is moved. But
Yeah.
look, see, this is what I was talking about with the under, right? So Pelicans don't play hot, like they don't get totals this high, like on the road. I mean, at home, right?
Hmm.
And if you
Yeah.
go to the highest totals, RC, I think there's some correlation between if they do get a high total, they actually win those games. So like, what are the highest totals? I feel like I looked at it, I didn't write it down though. Like, if we
On
just
here.
sorted by the total, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the high
Oh
games
shit.
they
Yeah.
win, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what
232
I
or
meant.
higher.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So I like the Pelicans and I like the under. I didn't play the Pelicans. Like I said, I didn't get the best line, but I still feel like they win the game today.
I think this is. Oh man, I can't find it. I had something on the Pelicans as well. I think it had to do with revenge. Oh, here it is. So so we got home favorites, revenge as a dog. Yeah, so a revenge game where they were a dog in the last game, and I put the game number is within 15 games within each other. I couldn't find like a specific time frame, so I just said within a number of games, and then they're not playing each other in back to backs during the regular season. So 63% since 2017. This says to take the Pelicans on this one. So the way that I look at it from a system perspective, I don't try to go for like the 80% low volume, 90% whatever. For the most part, I just find systems that where I feel like there is some sort of advantage and then deep dive into them with the team trend. So that's kind of like how I run the system. So this is one that I looked at and kind of pointed towards the Pelicans yesterday. Obviously, it was a better line last night, but um, yeah, that would be the only way that I go. Do you feel like you're gonna get there, Chris, on the Pelican side?
Maybe a live line, RC. Like I just don't want to lay the floor, but I still feel like they could win the game by 2 buckets. I don't know. I think I'm in love with the under, which is why I played it, and I don't want to get
Yeah,
too greedy. Like I would hate to go 1-1 and instead of just going 1-0, but I do think that they win and cover. So if I can get a live line, maybe like a live money line or live -1.5 or -2, then I'll probably jump on it because
-2.
I
Yeah,
do
just
plan on watching this
try to
game.
get back to the open number,
To
right?
original line, yeah, exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Any last comments on this one? Props or anything like that?
No.
No.
Minov,
All right.
would you look at Valanciunas? I know he dominated them in the last game that they played.
Yeah, I was
Do you,
looking at his rebounds.
okay.
Quickly, then we can move on. Then he did have, I think, I want to say it was 11 and a half last game, and he barely got there to 12. So right now, the current line is 11 and a half for his rebounds. He's gone over this number against the Kings in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 out of the last 7 games. And he went over, like I mentioned, the matchup earlier this month on March 6th. He had 12 rebounds in that game. So 11 and a
He's been
half, I
killing
think.
that 11 and a half.
Yeah, it's a
He's
sharp
only
number,
gone
I
under
think.
once.
Yeah. So if you want to get there with that, and then
Gotcha.
if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. BI points and assist or just his assist.
All right, let's go on to the last game that I have on the list to talk about the Thunder and the Warriors. I know me and Chris kind of talked about this real briefly right before the show. Munaf, do you have anything on this one? Let's see if you're aligned here.
Oh, Warriors.
I'm only laughing, because there's no way you're gonna be aligned with me at RC. Just as a play that you would not take.
I would probably look at Warriors in the first quarter. And just because the Thunder have just been really bad in the first quarter, I think over the last, I want to say 5 to 10 games. I'm gonna guess you guys are probably on the Thunder here. Under? On the under.
Thunder
It
team
makes
total
sense.
under. Thunder team
Under.
total under for me.
Thunder team total under?
Yeah, Thunder team total under for me. So
Yeah.
I wanted
If
to
this
get
was a
there on
road
the
game, I'd call
Warriors
you crazy.
spread, but I just feel like what was that?
I said this
What'd
was
you say?
on the road in OKC, I'd call you crazy. But at home, I'm not gonna argue against it.
Yeah. Well, all right, Chris. What do you think? All right, well, actually, I just because I have this up already. So if we look at Warriors at home post All-Star break, they've only allowed one team to go over their team total. That's one thing. Then the Thunder side, you go to post All-Star break on the road. Just basically the opposite here. Not looking at the records, but what they're doing, they've only gone over in one. They've only gotten over their team total in one game on the road post All Star break. So, just off of that quick thing combined, I that's the initial thought, right? Was just Thunder team total under, regardless of who wins, who covers. That's the way that I could look. But Chris, did you have anything else that supports this?
Yeah, I got a lot to support it. But I'm not on the Thunder team total under, even though I do like your look, RC. I like it a lot. I played the full game under. So this morning, interestingly enough, when I do my show in the morning, it's 7 a.m. So it's 4 o'clock your time, RC. So I know you sleep, but actually lines actually come available like while my show is going on. It's pretty interesting stuff. So last night I saw the total at 242. And while I was doing my show, it actually got bet all the way up to 244. And I was doing this live so people can go back and watch my morning show. And I was like, I'm taking the total at 244 as long as it doesn't continue to go up. I'm gonna get the best number and then I'm gonna take it to go under. So I like this game to go under. I see. So few different reasons. First, start off with the quote from Steph. Steph came out and said that, quote, there's a sense of urgency with these last 3 games, and not only just the wins, but the vibe you create going into the playoffs, going into a playoff series. That does matter, is the quote from Steph. So to me, that tells me that they are going to be, a little bit more focused on the defensive end. You just brought up, both trends that kind of back the situation. RC Thunder 7-4 to the under in road games post All-Star break. They're staying under by average of 8.5 points in those games as well. And you look at the Warriors, we like said, they typically go over on the road, but at home they're really good defensive teams as well. They're 7-3, well 8-3 to the under, 7-3 when they're home favorites to the under, and those games are staying under by average of 12 points as well. So I think we see defense in this spot. I also ran this. This was a system that I had on the. I just put it in the chat. Actually, it was a system that I had on the under between the Bucks and the 76ers on Sunday, and it's active again today. 14-4-1 spot to the under, and I think that this game plays into that system pretty well also. So I did play the under at 244, and I played it again at 242 as well on another sportsbook.
So just processing this. So revenge within a month, right?
Yeah, revenge within a month. I just opened the time frame up just a tad bit. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. And then after the All-Star break, now they're the home favorite. Conference game, and then line is less, so they're favored by more than they were in the first game. Makes sense. They would focus in on the defense, right? Averaging 104.9. Well, I mean, that's well below the 117.5. Anything else on this game here?
I think I also got a kind of nod from a query perspective that they got Gary Payton the second back in this lineup. Ever since he came back, I mean, that he just automatically turned into their best defensive player, like no questions asked, right? And if you kind of look at it, even if you go to NBA.com/stats over the last 4 games for the Warriors, they're number 5 in defensive rating at 108.8. So I think just having him, having a defensive presence, that makes a world of a difference. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue. Their offense hasn't been that great either. They've been turning the ball over at a very, very high volume. Have the Warriors, but yeah, I mean, just having him, I think, I think Chris mentioned about Steph coming out and saying the urgency, and they really should pride themselves on defense. I know they missed they are going to get Andrew Wiggins back here fairly soon. So so just I know it's just an eye test for me. I agree about the under as well. I can't argue against that.
I think I'm playing it again now. I see. Whenever I can get Munaf to agree with an under, that's when you got a hammer. So I'm playing it again probably.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you guys there. I think so. I only took the team total under, but I'll probably get there with the full game under as well. Oh shit, wrong game. The other thing too, right before the show, me and Chris was talking about how Warriors is one of those organizations. They have a ton of experience compared to the Thunder, and they know when to peak. Right, they know to peak right at the time to get into the playoffs. And I think this is a situation where they're going to close out the rest of the regular season with or without Wiggins. Obviously, they're probably going to want to have at least Wiggins play 1 or 2 of the last games here, right? Just to get in there, to get his legs under him. But for the most part, they're that organization that's super professional. They know when to peak, and this is the time to peak going into the playoffs. So I wouldn't be able to talk anyone off of the Warriors actually covering the spread as well. That's the way that I would look at it. So we went through the 4 games that I listed that I felt like had some importance, right? And then we got a whole bunch of games that had no important, like just stupid lines and shit. So, did you guys have any other games that you guys wanted to talk about?
I didn't have anything else as far as the games for tonight. A lot of double-digit spreads that I completely just crossed off the list
Yeah,
immediately.
exactly. That's how I felt.
But
Chris,
I
did you
think you
have
kind of went
anything
through
else
the ones
other
that
than the
matter.
ones that we talked about?
Nah, I think said it perfectly. I mean, we could deep dive into these games, but like we can try to find angles, try to find props, but do they really mean anything? Like I said, we just saw we saw double digit 15 point more or dogs win in these spots, and we also saw the Raptors absolutely crush the Charlotte Hornets at home the other day as well. So it's
Yeah,
really just hard to define who is going to show up and play well. That's something that is really hard for us to cap. So I think it's
yeah,
easier just to kind of keep your money tucked in your pocket unless you find a prop that you absolutely love. But I wouldn't play anything that I like. And not to say that
yeah.
there's not value out there, but that's how I kind of feel about the rest of the games, similar to what Munaf was kind of saying. I do think RC that Atlanta having Trae Young ruled out since the show started is going to be interesting between Atlanta and Chicago for sure. Like that'll be an
Yeah,
interesting
that's
game.
that was the only one that I saw in the chat that someone wanted to look at. So let's just do that one and then we can call it a day.
Yeah,
So the
Cleveland
Hawks and the
Orlando
Bulls,
also has some meaning as well, RC. But I know we didn't touch on that one. Cleveland Orlando, because if Cleveland
Cleveland Orlando, yeah.
loses, yeah, Cleveland Orlando does have some meaning. But I mean, not that we have to touch on it, but most of the other ones, like you guys said, they mean nothing.
Did you guys? So we'll just look at this one here, the Hawks and the Bulls. Did you guys have any looks on this one? So I'm just gonna pull up Trae Young while you guys talk.
I was just leaning Chicago. They've just been playing really good basketball. Atlanta, I talked about this on my pod with Trae Young. I mean, is he just having a bad season or is he hurt? I mean, we can't really tell because he's having a really bad shooting season for the Atlanta Hawks. But without Trae Young in there, now you're going to pick, say, defensive team in the Bulls that has Alex Caruso, that has Pat Bev out there now, right? They can really try to contain DeJounte Murray and then make somebody else try to beat them. But for me, I dropped this in the chat this morning. I felt like I did like the Bulls. I did pull the plug on them for half a unit before the trade news. So, CLV, you know how that goes in the NBA. But I did like the Bulls in the spot. I think they're playing some really good basketball.
All right, so if I just look at the Hawks here without Trae Young, they are 2-5 straight up, 4-3 against the spread. Oops. Losing by an average of close to 5 points here. They lost their last 5 in a row without Trae. It really is the offensive side of the ball. You can see a whole bunch of DPS, delta points scored under their team total. So, yeah, I can only agree with you on the Bulls there. Chris, anything on this one?
The spread went up to 5. RC, the only thing I was going to add with Trae being
Yes,
ruled
right
out,
at
it was
the
at
number,
2.
right.
So it went up to 5. It's like the books watching the show, and then set the line. But yeah, I would agree with everything I've just said. We when we talk about the Hawks, I see one thing we always talk about: previous home, then they go to road. It is not a pretty sight, man. I know that they just beat it. They also coming off the double overtime game, right? I know they had a couple days in between,
Yeah.
but
I keep forgetting how bad the score is.
I never forget. That's why I never back them. I'm like, what did they play at last? What are they playing at today? Yeah. So also double overtime game versus the Mavs. That's even more of a reason to look towards the Bulls. The Bulls have been playing well as a dog and in tight games, but do we really want to trust them to lay 5? I think so. I think Zach LaVine and the boys really have to concentrate on make sure they get this win because they may not win tomorrow, depending on what version of the Bucks they see. So I do think that they win this game, and probably got some positive CLV. Well, he definitely got positive CLV, but hopefully it goes in his favor. I'm knocking on wood for you,
And the flip side of it, right? The Hawks have the Bulls here tonight, but they go home against Washington tomorrow. So that's the thing that's a game that they probably think that they can get with all the injuries that the Wizards have right now. We talked about it earlier that they don't have. KP's not playing. Monte Morris is out. Denny Avdia got ruled out. Monte Morris, I believe, is out, and then
Bradley
Kyle
Beal.
Kuzma. Yeah, Bradley Beal, Kyle Kuzma. So their top 5 guys are all out. So maybe the Hawks are thinking, hey, okay, we'll let this game slide. We're still in that playing bracket tournament. There's no way for us to fall out. Just go home tomorrow, take care of business against the Wizards, and then we'll call it a season and see what happens in the playing tournament if we can make the playoffs at that point.
Yeah. Munaf, I know you already took the Bulls, but do you think they go over their team total? I'm just looking at this one here. My bad. So if we look at that travel situation, right, from home to road, and specifically home win to a road game, they're giving up 125.3 per game. If we look at their opponents, they've gone over their team total in all but one. If they cover and win, would you think they go over their team total?
Yeah, I would think so. You could go either over on the Bulls, or I think you could go under on the Atlanta Hawks, under 112.5, because you mentioned without Trae Young, they're averaging about 110, 111 points per game. And now you go up against a defensive team in Chicago that has been really good in the second after the All-Star break. So, yeah, I either Bulls team total over, or you could go Hawks team total under if you want.
All right. So, shit, where'd it go? So if we go Bulls side, I want to actually get on this game, but I can't. Probably not going to take the spread, so I want to make sure I do this right. Either the Hawks team total under or the Bulls team total over. So if we go Bulls and we go after All-Star break and at home, so 5-5, 5-5. So it's actually nothing significant there. If we say that they're the favorite, 4-1, there you go. I might get there with the team total Bulls over.
Yeah, and then on the flip side too, like the Atlanta Hawks, I think have been one of the worst defensive teams since the All-Star break.
Yeah.
As well. So, and a couple things that are working in your favor there for the Bulls team total over. They're at I think 23rd in defense.
Post All-Star break?
Whatever you had up last 4 games, or if you want to go
Oh, that was
post
last
All-Star
4,
break.
yeah. I'm going to do post All-Star break, see where they're at just in general. Yeah, 27th.
Yeah.
Bulls offense has gone up. I know they were struggling for a bit, and so yeah, I think I'm gonna get there with the Bulls team total over. I missed that spread, so that would probably be the way that I kind of ride with you in that game.
117.5. I see. I just looked it up for you.
Yeah.
Okay. 117.5. You would think that even without Trae, let me just see their pace of play without Trae. Shit. It does come down a little bit. Only 7 game sample size. I think I'm gonna still get there. All right. Anything else before we cut out, guys? You want to drop any? Shit, we'll do that in the last part. But any other game you guys want to talk about, or just go to the recap now?
Oh, that's all I had. Unless Chris had anything else.
Yeah, nothing else for me. I see.
All right, cool.
I think it's good.
All right, let's go to the recap section now, or top looks. I'll stop sharing my screen. Let's go with Chris first. Drop what you want to drop for the viewers here.
Okay, so 2 plays I want to drop. The Sacramento New Orleans under 237.5. I mean under 236 right now. I think is playable as well. OKC and Golden State to go under the current number. I think the total is still 242. So 2 unders that I like. I hopped on the Timberwolves, like I said, gave them out at +1, but they are -2 right now. I probably will go official with the Timberwolves again. Probably just take them on the money line at the -1, the -130. Honestly, I like that number a lot. Honorable mention, I know we didn't talk about it, but Cleveland, Orlando, I think that game goes under the 222. Both of those teams have stayed under in both of the games so far this season. It's the first of one of those little mini series of back-to-backs as well. And Orlando hasn't given up on the season. They've covered 9 games in a row. They've been doing it with their defense. Cleveland also, struggles on the road offensively at times. And I think that this is a defensive game. So honorable mention would be Cleveland, Orlando to go under the 223, I think is what the number went up to. But I didn't play that one officially. OKC, Golden State under, Sacramento, New Orleans under for me.
I like it. All right. Munaf, what you got?
Yeah, the game that we just talked about, I got there with the Bulls. I still like it at 5, man. I think this is a good spot for them. They'll come out here and take care of business, especially knowing that they have Milwaukee, on deck, and we don't know who is going to be in or out for the Bucks tomorrow. But I think Bulls come out here at home, take care of business. Not sure if it is their last home game of the season, but regardless, I do like them in the spot here. Did also play Kevin Porter Jr. over 2.5 3-point shots made here tonight against Denver. I think he's hit 3 or more in, I want to say 4 or 5 straight games. So I think he should have some success tonight against the backcourt defense of the Denver Nuggets. Those are the 2 official plays that I did have for the NBA.
Cool. Did you? I know some people were asking about baseball earlier. Do you want to drop? Do you have any baseball plays today?
Yeah. You want to give out your NBA first, and then I could give out my baseball.
Yeah. Let's do that. All right. So for me on the NBA side, the Wolves money line, I did get it at minus 125 earlier. Minus 130 is still pretty good to me. The Thunder team total under 117.5 was the other play that I posted, that I played earlier. But the other ones that we talked about during the show here that I want to add here is the Pelicans Kings under, the Thunder Warriors probably the full game under, the Bulls team total over 117.5. I think that was it for those games. Yeah, that was it. I don't think I did anything with the Celtics Sixers. I think I leaned towards the Sixers, but I'm not gonna bet anything there. All right, let's go to the baseball, and I'll add whatever I have for baseball as well.
Yeah, so I did play last night the 9.5 on the over for the Blue Jays and Royals. That's moved to 10. I'll say this: I think that you're getting some value. I know it's Kikuchi Day. We've talked a lot about that last season. We was ski and all that, but I was watching this game last night. I think that again, there's going to be plenty of offense in this game, right? Last night, Brady Singer was on the mound for the Royals. He's by far their best pitcher. They were able to put up runs last night, but I think tonight Blue Jays will be able to contribute to the over here as well. We talk about Kikuchi. Chris Bubich has not been very good either. Also, we talk about weather, wind blowing out in Kansas City here tonight. It's close to 19 to 21 miles per hour, so that's only going to help the hitters. Also, the umpire in this game last season was 13-6 towards the over. So I do like the over 9.5. If you want to play Royals first 5 team total over 2.5 at plus 115, that's some nice plus odds there. And then I also took the Orioles over 3.5 for the game, their team total. Andrew Haney is a guy that has not had a lot of success against the Orioles in his career. He does get the strikeouts, but I feel like the offense should break out here tonight for the Baltimore Orioles. So I think that 3.5 was a little conservative. And then I took the under in the Rockies and the Dodgers game here tonight. Marquez has been a pitcher that's been really good on the road for the Rockies. Obviously, when you talk about Coors Field with Rockies pitchers, their ERAs at home are definitely going to be inflated. But I want to say when I was looking at this, I should have my notes in front of you. That the last 7 games that Marquez has pitched in LA at Dodger Stadium has seen 7 or less runs. And then also the Dodgers have Julio Urias. They're probably their best pitcher on the mound here tonight. So I took the under 7.5 in that game.
I remember we took Marquez the first game. Remember that we backed them. Yeah, we backed them. We won that one. So for me, the baseball plays that I did take last night was the Padres and Diamondbacks under the 7.5. I think it's at 7 right now. Obviously they scored 9 runs combined yesterday. We got some good pitchers here tonight with Darvish and Gallen. The other one too that I was looking at as far as from the side perspective, I was actually looking at the Cubs to bounce back tonight. Last season, Wisniewski, he only had, I think it was like 4 or 5 starts, but he did pretty well. He also did well during the spring training. So for me, I think there's a bounce back spot here for the Cubs. Those would be the 2 that I dropped from the baseball side. I had a whole bunch of like leans and stuff like that, but for the most part, I like those 2. I think there was one more. Hold on, I think there was Mets Brewers. Sorry, Mets Brewers under as well. I like under 8 on that one. Mets Brewers. I didn't get there yet with that game specifically, but I probably need to get there soon because I'm not sure if the lines move. I think I saw 7. No, it's not. Okay, it's still at 8. But I'll probably get there before the game starts. So that would be the other under. I know it's tough because of all the changes, the clock and everyone expecting a lot of, but I still want to focus in on these unders. I know the stolen base thing has been been an issue as well of creating
Yeah.
more runs. So I think we're hopefully we see that everyone kind of um not transition but like get accustomed to how everything goes with all the changes, and we start to see everything normalize. But we are seeing a little bit more runs, but I still do want to focus on the unders, because if you just look long term, the unders are more profitable than the overs in baseball.
Yeah.
We'll see if everything switches this year with the changes, but I'll just stick with what I know. I have 8 systems that I run in the MLB, and I just rock with those and don't do anything else really. Same thing with hockey. I have one hockey system, and it's probably been my most profitable sport all season long. I just place the bet and don't do anything else.
Yeah.
Sometimes that works. Sometimes it works that way. But yeah, other than that, guys, do I keep forgetting. I know you were doing a whole bunch of baseball shows to prep for the season, but do you guys have a daily show on
Yeah.
SGPN?
Yeah. 4 o'clock.
What time is that one?
So 5 o'clock Eastern every single day. Just follow us at MLB SGPN, or it's the other way around, SGPN MLB. It's just good if you Google MLB, not Google, Twitter MLB Gambling Podcast. I'm usually on around 3 to 4 times a week. I won't be on today, but my guys are on there. It's been a pretty good start to the season for my picks, at least 5-1 so far. The picks that I've given out on the show. But yeah, we go at least Sunday through Friday. So yeah, definitely check us out. We're having a pretty good start to the season so far.
Love it. Chris, anything else to promote here?
Nah, I like the looks that you guys have, especially with Urias on the mound tonight. I think I might get there with that under 7.5 from, like that one a lot.
All right. With that said, guys, this is the end of the show. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button, and share the show if you can as well. With that said, I always have to end the show like this. Whether you fade us or follow us, it is on you guys to make that call. Good luck with all your action. Till next time. Peace.